Welcome to How We Grow, an essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz, with your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show, How We Grow. I'm Lynell Gordon, and every once in a while, we have a guest on the show that has such an incredibly impressive background that it takes forever to do the introduction. And today is no exception. We are delighted today to have a senior executive with Inhabit with us. Currently, he serves as the EVP and Managing Director of the Vacation Rental Division, where he drives innovation and business development for the company's vacation rental, our side of the business. Prior to this role, he was the GM and CEO over at iTrip Vacations, and there he led short-term rental management across North America. His career includes pivotal roles like the VP of Choice Hotels International, the VP of Tourico Holidays, the founder of Packlate, among many things. He's helped revolutionize vacation rental booking technology, and today he brings his deep expertise in business development and technology to vacation rentals to our discussion. Welcome, Steve Caron. We're so happy to have you today.
Thanks. And it makes me sound old.
No, it doesn't. No, you're one of the very few people that I have on the show who has a career that goes back as far as mine does. I mean, seriously, and I don't feel old because of it. I feel like I've had a lot of fun.
No, I started in this industry, at Abbott Resorts down in the Panhandle of Florida, and as a property manager and technologist, and been through all phases of the industry. Tried to get out a few times, got sucked back in because it's really my first love and it's what I love doing. And so thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to have talked to you today.
Something I learned about you I didn't know is you've also served, even before that, you were the CTO, you've been the CTO of companies, but you really, you were with Resort Quest. I talk to people all the time. Talked to somebody yesterday. This is the truth. They're like, that Steve guy who's over at Inhabit now, I work with his daughter-in-law, someone told me yesterday. And I was like, really, Steve Caron? They're like, yeah. Like, that happens at least once a week, Steve. You are so well known in the industry. And here's the cool thing for you guys listening. Not only does Steve run the vacation rental part of our business over at Inhabit, but Steve has worked in vacation rentals so much of his career that he really is a great one to ask for advice. Now, you're always on top of the latest trends and the changes, Steve, in this industry. I know that because that's basically what you and I talk about most of the time, and that's important. But more than that, here's the question. How can someone be successful? What do they do with the information?
I think that there's a lot of great data and trends out there. And I don't try to memorize them all every day, but there's great resources and partners both within Inhabit and external to Inhabit. And I think we can all consume those. And I think that's the right question to ask is, what do I do about it when I have this information? How do I act? How do I lean into this? My earliest mentors, Bill Abbott and Ed Seymour and others in the business, Pedro Mandoki, I ran this class,
him.
Al Williams. It was always about how can I be driven and innovative? What do I have to do to maximize my business? It's great to have data. You got to run your business on data, but it's what do you do about the data? And so for me, it's always about how do you be practical about that and having that innovation mindset that says, how do I embrace the right people, services, tools, and experiences to drive my business forward? And I think that's the biggest challenge that we all ask ourselves. How do I do that? To me, what I've tried to spend my career on is how do I surround myself with really smart people, have the right input, and then lean into issues to get ahead of them.
Looking back over your career, if you had one piece of advice that you would say to property managers who are looking to grow their business, what would you say to them?
I'd say have the right mindset. This is not a difficult business in the sense that it's complex. We're not sending rockets to the moon, right? It's not rocket science, but there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of components that all come together to be successful, but it's first about having the right mindset and being confident in who you are and what you have to offer. You've built your business, you've built the team around you, you've put your shingle out and said, I can solve this problem. And the question is, are you confident of that? Or are you questioning it? Because people see that questioning in your mind. If you don't believe in yourself, neither do they. And owners won't believe it. And when you want to attract owners to your business, they need to see that you are confident that you have the answers and the ability to charge through problems. It's really about controlling your mindset. And I think that too many people start questioning themselves and should I do this? Is this the right answer? And they get thrashed into the data again. They get so buried in the data, they forget to make a decision. And that indecision turns into a decision ultimately, right? The lack of decision is a decision, right? It's a decision not to move forward.
Totally. Tell me what you mean by mindset.
So I think it comes down to asking yourself these questions again. What do I need to grow my business? Who do I need to be working with? What is the right mix today? Where is the data today? What's happening in the industry today? We've seen the market up and down over the last 2 to 3 years with COVID and post-COVID, and we've seen it settling in. I think everybody has a part of it. And I think you have to triangulate on that and then say, well, where can I take my business? And so it's really about being engaged and in the fight and not waiting for someone to say, go, I'll go do this, go do this. This is your answer. Because I think you have to decide where do I want to take my business and then present that to people. And so in that growth mindset, it's about embracing those challenges and really having a sense for how can I improve? And then that inner voice in your head saying, I don't know how to do this yet, but I'll figure it out. And too many people say, someone needs to tell me where I need to go. That's not leadership. I'll figure this out. And I'm going to figure it out because I'm going to talk and listen to a lot of people.
I love the fact that you said make a decision. That's one of the hardest things as company leaders that we learn is that make a decision, right or wrong, make a decision. And I think a lot of people, they don't realize the fact that if you don't, you already have, like you said. So let's talk about some of the biggest challenges that vacation rental managers are likely to face as we move into this fall. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think we're seeing that settling back and we've watched 24 be a little bit changeable. It's been better than 23. It's had a little growth. We had some holdbacks on it. ADR has been mushy. RevPAR hasn't grown where we want it to grow, but we're seeing that settle out and we're sensing that new normal. And I think we're going to move into a period where if you can focus on occupancy and focus on RevPAR growth of your unit count, because some of the units that got in during the peak are getting out. So we're going to see some of that demand come back into the units that are left, and we'll get a little growth in that. And it's about how do I grab more of that share? There's going to be other people who are saying, man, I can't compete now. I can't. Those ADRs were really high. My owners aren't happy with me because they want to get $600 on a $400 a night unit still, and they don't understand. And those units will go away. And those people that got in the business will exit. The question is, how are you going to get a larger share? Tom Bismeyer is one of my partners at iTrip. He used to say, when there's a fire, the leaders run into the fire. And how do you run into that fire to say, I see a market shift. I see it settling down. I want to grab a larger share. I want to remix my inventory so that I have this upmarket solution. Again, you have to pick your market, pick what works for you. But again, that decision and then grow into it. And then ask yourself, what are the right questions I should be asking? Don't just ask questions. Think through, what do I need to do to solve my problem? What am I missing, right? What am I not doing? Who could I talk to that may give me a different perspective? And what kind of person do I need to be to achieve my goal? I think if we don't have that introspective view and have a plan, then we're in this fixed mindset of, well, I don't know, but somebody will figure it out. And when they do, hopefully I can tag into it. I think the leaders in the market are going to run into the fire a bit. And I think that we're settling the industry down a little bit and we're back to what we called normal in the old days, right? We have to always sense what customers want. What's the inventory that's most desirable today? How do I position my product to have an advantage over the next person?
Given your experience with various technology solutions, what emerging technologies do you believe will become crucial for vacation rental managers in the next year? Like crucial.
I think if you're not doing revenue management, you're missing out. And because we talked about different factors that drive how I drive more revenue to my owners, ultimately it's about putting a bigger check in your owner's pocket this year versus last year, where you won't retain that owner. So there's ADR and RevPAR and understanding occupancy and what are those trends in the macro, but in the micro, in by unit type in your market for this season. And so you have to have that data, and it's a lot to consume. And if you don't have a revenue management tool and a revenue management advisor or somebody either on your team or a consultant that's working with you to help you drive the most value out of the properties you have because you work for that owner to drive value to that asset. I think that's probably the most important thing is in a world of changing data, the ability to consume that changeable data and have the right input and ask the right questions. Do I have the right price? Do I have the right number of nights, midnights, or do I have all the metrics dialed in a way? And am I testing and trialing to get the right mix so that I can maximize value to my owner? This business is always, as we all know, it's about the owners. Without them, we don't have a business.
That's totally true. Now, I happen to know something about you that I don't know many people who don't literally work with you know about you. And I just want to ask you because I remember the first time we looked at spreadsheets together. You're one of the very few people that blew my mind. You blew me away with the way that you had your pulse on your business. So let's talk business as opposed to just vacation rental, because this could be across any business. Talk to me about how closely you monitor the numbers of your business and which ones could you not do on a daily basis? Because I think you did this daily, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, depending on where I was at the time in the role I'm in. So I am a data nerd. I'm a self-professed data nerd for sure. I use LSI tools. I read everything I can read to be informed, but then I also go look at the business and the numbers. In my iTrip world, for instance, every morning I would wake up and look and see how each of those locations had done in the previous day. I would look for milestones. I'd look for trends. How are they doing year over year? I would then drill in and look for how much revenue am I booking today versus same day last year? Where is that revenue landing? Yeah, everybody has their own way. I was sharing one of those wacky spreadsheets that I create for my own use with Vicky Storm, who's running iTrip these days. And I was talking to my wife ahead of time and I said, well, I'll show this to Vicky, but I'm afraid that it's not going to be how she thinks. She goes, my wife says, no one thinks like you do.
I loved it. I emulated that afterwards. I mean, I stole ideas from you from that. Let me just tell you, it's remarkable.
But I think the key is pick what works for you, right? There's a set of data. For me, I'm tracking, both booking growth. So what's going to land and where is it landing in the future down to the property manager level. And within a manager, sometimes I'm helping them or what's helping them. How are you doing with your 3 bedrooms? You can layer that as deep as you need. So I'm looking at both what's booking and landing into the future, but how am I doing to a plan? Again, do you have a budget? If you haven't done a budget, you don't have a plan. You just have hope. And so do you have a budget? Did you set an expectation? I'm going to add X number of units and I'm going to grow my business I'm going to grow revenue by 20%, 10%, whatever that is. Set those metrics and then measure yourself against them. And again, each business is different. I think there's a lot of things you can measure, but be consistent in looking at that. And I had a weekly pace, a daily pace, a weekly pace, and a monthly pace that I do. And I do that now on the Inhabit level across all 11 companies to look at how are we metricing in the business. I play with the numbers in order to see the trend, but that it doesn't tell the story. At the end of the day, it's what do I do about the trend? How do I ask the right questions to say, what do I do with that? And how do I move forward? And what would be innovative and unique? For me, it's about being driven, really, is how I always expressed it at iTrip. And it's about having grit, which is that tenacity. It's passionate perseverance over a long haul. I can't look at my numbers today or tomorrow or for a week and think I know it. You have to make it part of your passion to do it all the time.
Ready to rock your business? Join us at this year's Streamline Summit Rhythm in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. This September 4th through the 6th, dive into an electrifying 3-day event filled with industry insights, networking, and hands-on training. From visionary speakers to the latest vacation rental tech trends, the Streamline Summit is your backstage pass to property management stardom. Kick off with our legendary opening party, take a swing at our charity golf tournament benefiting the Children's Cancer Network, and end on a high note with a closing bash you won't forget. You'll learn from industry rock stars like keynote speaker Amber Erickson Hurdle, a hospitality veteran and top 30 branding professional known for her high-energy talks on personal and business branding. And don't miss featured speaker Galen Emanuel, a world-class improviser and international speaker, transforming team dynamics with clients like Microsoft and NASA. Get your groove on with fellow professionals and amplify your success. Don't miss a beat. Visit streamlinesummit.com and snag your ticket today.
So, one of the things that we do here on the show, almost always, is we ask for our favorite vacation rental story, either an owner story or a guest story. And I'd love for you to share one of those with me.
I didn't know you were going to ask me that. I'm going to
I
have to
know
think.
you did it. It's off the cuff, but I always ask it. People that have been in vacation rentals, I ask it of them. If you haven't been in vacation rentals, I don't ask you. But if you've been in vacation rentals, you have a favorite owner or you have a favorite vacation rental guest story that's worth listening to.
I think one of the things that I think back is when I first got into this business a long time ago, and my kids were very young. I have daughter-in-laws that work in the business and sons that work in the business these days. But back then they were very small. And I remember the first time I got a comp stay and stayed in a condo. I remember my kids were going in the unit. My kids are drawing. We were stayed in Mainsail. It's a property in Destin, Sandestin area called Mainsail. We had this beachfront condo. It was a high rise. It was all the unique stuff. And my kids are drawing pictures. I love Mainsail and just impacted them. And it was like, what hit me, as I thought about it was what we're selling is that dream and that desire. I came from the military. I lived overseas. I did a lot of stuff, but I'd never experienced that. We're selling experience. And as I grew in the industry and as I was around longer and I was interacting with more inventory, what I wanted in that experience changed. And so we had exchange students many years later, and we took our exchange daughters to $1 million condos and other places, and we did a lot of fun things. But it was always, what's that new experience that makes me love what I'm doing and want to come back and do it again? And I think we have to get in tune with the customer maybe experiencing parts of your product for the first time. How do we have their kids sitting around drawing in on a coloring pad and drawing a picture of the property and saying, I love that, right? Because they go home with that memory and we're building those memories. And I think for me, that's a very personal thing about this business that stuck with me over the years because my kids went, wow, I love this. This was the best vacation ever. And it was one of many that we did. But that one stuck out to me as a very memorable one because it drove me to want to learn more and be part of the industry, not just the job, which it was prior to that.
One of the things that we do on this show is everybody that comes on agrees to be a mentor if someone contacts you. And guys, let me tell you, there is no one that I know of. Now, I've said this before about one other person on this show, and he's fabulous. He still is. He's one of our clients, but you are such a great business person. If someone has a question about their vacation rental business, would you be willing to chat with them?
Absolutely. I do that pretty regularly. It's harder for me these days because I get so busy, but I think it's a challenge. If we're too busy and we're not listening, then we're not learning because those questions help you learn. They're teaching you what maybe you've forgotten sometimes. So yeah, I love doing that. And I've tried to do that over the years and I've had some really fabulous mentors. I mentioned Bill Abbott. I mean, Ed Seymour was one of the folks that was super impactful. He recently passed away and it was impactful to me because he's such a great mentor, taught me so much about contracts and working through problems and operations in a way that no one had ever done. And there were other people all along the way, but those people impact your life. And it's certainly important to me to be able to give that back.
If people wanted to reach out to you, how would they reach you?
Either through LinkedIn. I'm certainly on LinkedIn. I respond to my LinkedIn messages. Some people will say maybe not as fast as I should. My email address is steve.caron@inhabit.com. I'm always open to discussions. I'm a big believer in co-opetition. I work with and have competed against many of the icons of this industry. And I think when you build relationship amongst it, we lift that boat for all of us. And so I look for ways that we can all help each other. And so I don't care if you're in a non-Inhabit company, but you're somebody that's a competitor or a vendor. I love talking to folks and learning a little bit what they're thinking about it. New perspectives help me drive new perspectives.
And being successful in business is what we all are looking for when we start a business. We all want that success. So having mentors is really important, in my opinion. Let me ask you, out of all the technology that we've seen, and you're at a place where you see a lot of new technology, what's the new technology that you're most excited about right now?
I think AI, and people are playing with it. People talk about it. Most of us have GTP somewhere or some other competitive service on their phone. We play with it, but how is it fully integrated into the business so that it's interactive and that it amazes you, right? That it amazes our guests and our owners. And I know here at Inhabit, I was just talking to Ramon, our CTO, and we've got some interesting pieces coming out that we're going to reveal soon. I know others are working on that. I think implementing AI in a conversational way, either by text or voice, and the ability to interact and find the property, that dream vacation, that thing that hits that guest's need, I think that's going to change our game. I remember before internet, when people questioned, well, should we even put these properties online? Who would ever book them? I mean, that ship sailed so many years ago. And now we're talking about how do we book a property with voice that builds my itinerary and helps me with all my extra services that I'm going to do? How do I engage for activities through Explorer or whatever service you use? How do I take care of all of those things and build a memorable trip for my family? Because at the end of the day, and we've seen this industry with highs and lows, but it always keeps growing. Economic downturns and pandemics and oil spills in the Gulf, whatever those are, we've always seen growth because people want to take their vacation. When times are tough, they might size down, but they're going to do something because they need disconnect. And how do we help them do that and build that dream vacation for them? Where that's the business for it. I think AI is going to help us do that.
I'm really excited about that too. What final piece of advice would you give vacation rental managers to ensure they end this year, 2024, on a strong note?
And you got to be gritty. You got to get out there and be driven and drive into the details. Embrace a mindset of how can I learn and grow the business? Try something new. When I got really busy during my Sternly Resorts days, once a week I would take a phone call. Sometimes we come in, I don't know who that is ringing in on my phone, but I'd take the call. And it was a lotto ticket. If they were either selling me something or doing something, and be willing to take unknown calls and learn something, right? And then test your ideas and measure that success and be willing to fail. If you fail 9 times, that 10th time is the win, but you learn something at every step. Edison didn't make the light bulb and perfect it in a day, right? He failed 2,000 something times. I think it's about be willing to fail forward, fail fast, learn each step and engage new people. And I think that's the key to this. We're not doing this alone. We need each other, both competitors and vendors and coworkers. If we work it together, this business will keep growing. This industry will grow. We've gone to mainstream. Now we just need to continue to solidify and grow it and improve it and make it really professional.
I love that. Guys, if you are listening, let me tell you, if there's one person that you might want to reach out to and have mentor, Steve is really phenomenal. I mean, you've heard him during this podcast. I cannot imagine anyone that would be better suited to the job that he's doing than running our vacation division. I am so proud to have him at the head there. And Steve, thank you so much for being willing. I know you're busy, for being willing to take this time to come and chat with people. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
I like being able to get out there, and I don't do enough of these, and I wish I did more. And I try to make sure I'm available. So I'll be at many of the conferences this year. If you see me, grab me, hook me up, let's talk, and we can sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk about stuff.
Don't forget to say hi to him, guys. Thanks, Steve.
All right, take care.
This episode of How We Grow is brought to you by Streamline. To find out more about how Streamline can help grow your vacation rental business, visit streamlinevrs.com. Make sure to search for How We Grow in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.